The mass media is out to control image. If they control what you look at, they can control what you think. If they control what you think about yourself, they can control what you do about yourself.
"5 years ago, the blackchannel.net was established. It gave voice to something that most thought didn't even exist. Intelligent black society. And let's face it, what's passed for intelligent black discussion up until now has been anything but. Intelligent black society has always been there, but no one could see it. It's always had something to say, but no one had spoken the words. It's always been needed, but no one had called for it. Black America is in trouble. Nobody can deny that. We are disorganized, demoralized, and self-destructive. We are attacking ourselves from within and allowing ourselves to be decimated from without. Everybody is pursuing their own personal, petty amusements, and nobody is building for the future. Many of us openly ridicule the idea that we should even be building. Clearly, we as an African people don't think we have a future. It is hard for us to formulate a clear agenda for our people. Harder still to spell out what our interests are and should be, and impossible to reach our people with these truths and to get them on board. And why is that? Our community is in disarray because the culture is in disarray. This is because we don't control our culture. The media controls the culture, and has for hundreds of years now. In the last 100 years alone, we've seen them fine-tune every technique they have so as to make their electronic and print mediums as persuasive and powerful as possible. This influence is insidious and pervades every arena of our lives. They control what you see, how it's presented to you, and most of all, what you're allowed to say about it. Black America is facing a second genocide. It's blatantly obvious that our total focus ought to be on group economics and nothing, absolutely nothing else. We need to develop our own hard-nosed and hyper-aggressive push to monopolize resources and then employ them for our own empowerment. Yet, what do our people focus on? Sports, cars, clothes, and sex. This from a people who barely have the money to even waste on such ghetto trinkets. Black people have been conditioned to laugh, joke, and kid around every time we get together. It's impossible to talk seriously about anything because we have trained ourselves to make every occasion one for laughter. Well, we're facing extinction, and that's no laughing matter. This is not a social or economic problem. This is a cultural dysfunction. One that will kill us unless we stop it. But you've never heard anyone say this before. Why? The media defines the culture. Problem is, we don't control any part of the media. This is why you have the richest corporations on earth renting Negroes to sell us on the idea that we are supposed to be some sort of party people. While our children are dying in the streets, they've convinced us that it's cool to be broke. For over 40 years, we've had the white media carpet bombing us with images and sounds of black people acting like ghetto miscreants. No other images are allowed to be seen. No other idea or point of view is allowed to be broadcast. Whenever we've tried, the dominant society has used their media monopoly to marginalize us, and if that doesn't work, they slander us as being some sort of fringe extremists. Today, black Americans as a group are on the fringes of society. At this point, we're merely awaiting our turn to die. To regain control of our culture, we must control the force that without question defines the culture: media. The purpose of media is mass communication. We have to change and control what our people talk about and whom they talk to. Group economics is the only conversation that is relevant to our people. The first thing we need to accept is that black empowerment is not for everyone, because not everyone is for black empowerment. The message of 7 a.m. and the movement it represents will not appeal to the majority of black people. It's a sad fact, but it is a fact. There will always be a certain number of black people who are hooked on sports talk, relationship drama, and trying to live out some ghetto fabulous delusion. But this is because for nearly 3 generations, the dominant society has used its media to create this mind-numbed mob of social zombies. That's what happens when you thoroughly control a society. You can literally create your own market out of thin air, and then cater to that market with whatever type of mind rot you want. But merely identifying the problem and the culprits is not enough. We must develop our own media infrastructure, one that operates solely in our interest, one that pushes the truth that we are supposed to be producers and not merely consumers. If there's something that you like, whether it's cars, movies, gold, textiles, or construction, then you are supposed to own it. Other groups have done this, from Al Jazeera to Russia Today. The Arabs and the Russians may not have as loud a voice as the United States media, but at least they have a voice now. Once we've retaken control of our culture, we will see our neighborhoods improve, because intelligent black people will understand that we are too proud to live in slums. Our schools will improve, because we'll focus on group business ownership instead of trying to be the best employees. We will be safer and more secure, both at home and abroad. We will not allow lawmakers, police, nor white supremacists to attack or kill us, and should they try, we will have the means and the will to counterattack these forces and crush them. We will stop allowing Africa to be colonized by Asians and politically and economically dictated to by whites, the same way we are here in the U.S. Africa is more than our homeland. It is our power base. With its unparalleled natural resources, intelligent black society will be able to bootstrap our economy in perpetuity. Everything from food to electronics to energy depends in part or in total on Africa. Here, in the belly of the beast, we absolutely require an outside power base to wield the kind of influence we need. You're fooling no one but yourself if you think you can do without Africa. Jewish Americans understand that Israel is more than real estate. Asian Americans understand that Japan and China are more than just the world's number 2 and number 3 economies. Intelligent black society better understand that as well. We have a nation of black people who have become hesitant, apathetic, and even defeatist. To reach these masses and gather those who are willing to stand in their own people's interests, we require mass media power. And that media must say the right things. I told you at the beginning of this year that the single most important thing we want from our media is that it reflects our value system. Because a value system is the foundation of all culture. So, what do you value? Sports, cars, and sex? Or true power? 7 a.m. is the wake-up call. Near the end of the civil rights movement, black men began to move in their own people's interests. From the Black Panthers to black filmmakers, we were speaking our own minds. So it's no surprise then that the dominant society used both the power of the police and legal authorities to destroy both the Panthers and the burgeoning black cinema. Rather than create our own media and social machines, we allowed ourselves to be sweet-talked back onto the plantations with the lie that we could be part of the white American machine. And we've wasted the last 45 years complaining that it hasn't happened yet. The media's job is to create noise, so that the voices that would put you back on the path to self-empowerment cannot be heard. But in the last few years, we've seen black America being led by a relative handful of black men pushing back. And not surprisingly, many of these black men are targeting media for takeover. And truth be told, black men are showing not a little skill at using social media to build a war chest. But don't go celebrating too soon. As an example, LeVar Burton has made headlines for his unbelievably successful Reading Rainbow web app Kickstarter. He's raised over $3 million to date, with no signs of slowing down, or at least that's what we thought. After Reading Rainbow was canceled by PBS, LeVar Burton bought the rights to the show. At the time, everyone thought it was just a mid-level actor who refused to let go of the past. Today, they see things differently. Here you have a black man who focused on ownership and is now parlaying that into media influence. LeVar Burton wants to use the internet to continue his efforts to keep children interested in reading, Now, who on earth could have a problem with that? The dominant culture, that's who. Less than a day after he'd started his Kickstarter and exceeded his goal, the white media, led by no less than the Washington Post, immediately launched a war to defame LeVar Burton any way they could. They all but accused him of running a scam. Their goal was to stymie his Kickstarter's momentum. Almost as soon as they mounted this media barrage, Burton went from receiving almost $1 million a day to only the tens of thousands. Now, have you ever seen the white media launch an attack on a Kickstarter before now? This is what we're up against. The dominant culture is not about to sit on their hands and allow us to wrest any influence over the most powerful tool of social control. As intelligent black men begin to rise, the dominant society is using their media monopoly to attack us, hard. But they are doing more than that. They're also promoting and pushing black people who are trying to keep us in the mental ghetto we've been stuck in for decades. Believe it or not, I have nothing against Issa Rae, but it's no surprise that after Issa Rae makes her awkward black girl videos, the dominant society was tripping over its own feet to celebrate her. She starts a Kickstarter, and in 30 days, she raises over $55,000. But then again, how could she not? Every media outlet from the internet to mainstream television was giving her free advertising, before, during, and after she had made her goal. They were in the tank for her from day one. This is not a criticism of Issa Rae, nor her web series. This is an indictment of the fact that the dominant culture used their media to handpick her from obscurity and push her upon the masses. And there was a good reason for that. What she offered wasn't a threat. It also didn't hurt that it was, to an extent, a slap in the face to black men. Issa Rae's material is just more mind rot, cut from the same cloth as Tyler Perry in Scandal. More obsessing over petty relationship drama. More nonsense black people don't need. The media's orgy of praise for Issa Rae was meant to send a loud and clear message to black people, and black women in specific. This is what you ought to be focusing on. Do this, and the powers that be will reward you. It's a prime example of the media telling people what to think and what to think about. And it's also no surprise that Issa Rae found a ready patron in Chandra Rhimes. Seems the godmother of Negro bedwenches has discovered her protege, and together they will hope to dial us in for another 20 years of distractions, showing us powerful black women on TV while ignoring the fact that black women are on the verge of oblivion in the real world. Then again, when your only ambition in life is to be adored by white men, you could care less what happens to black women as a group. To them, they think they're raising black women's stock by having them fawning over white men. But in reality, they're reinforcing the dominant culture's position, that as women you are worthless, unless you can get a white man to take an interest in you. This raises white men's stock, not black women's. Sure, Issa Rae has Chandra Rhimes and the unlimited money and media control of the dominant society on her team, and together they raised a lot of money. But you know what? I like our squad a lot better. Intelligent black society has raised far more than the awkward black girl. And intelligent black society did it with absolutely no media support or involvement. They don't control, nor can they influence this movement. We owe nothing to anyone except the intelligent black elite who said enough. And whether you realize it or not, by supporting ventures like this one, you are exercising true power. When a handful of righteous people turn anger into action and outperform the dominant media's hand-picked darling, that means something. Those of you who chose to support black empowerment over pettiness, this is the confirmation that you chose the winning side. This is only a start, a first step of a very long journey. But it is a start. However, you will have to stay engaged, stay active, stay supportive. I have no doubt that we've attracted the attention of some of our enemies. Right now, they're ignoring us and hoping we'll go away. They're hoping that this all won't amount to much. Clearly, they have no idea what they're up against now. What Jason Black, Professor Truth, and the B1 Brigade represent is black power on the march. The same way a handful of white power brokers forced the entire nation to accept money as free speech, so a handful of black power seekers are acting from the shadows and becoming a force to be reckoned with. Don't worry about getting the masses to jump on board some bandwagon. That's not what we're trying to build here. As Dr. John Henrik Clarke said, when people see us winning again, all sorts of people who previously denied being black will suddenly start calling themselves black. Intelligent black society has proven that it can afford to get into the game. Now we have to get out there and start scoring some points. 7 a.m. is a rallying cry of a people more powerful than their oppressors. 7 a.m. is a turning point, because for the first time since Marcus Garvey, black people are looking to no one but themselves for support, in an endeavor not geared toward coonery, but toward empowerment. We are not looking to have an even hand. We're looking to gain the upper hand, because in order for us to have a future that we can call our own, that future must be uncompromising. And we make no apologies for that.